Hello, this is Jack Gill and welcome to Redmen Academy. I'm joined by Donny fan Liam Emery for today's video and usual cameraman. It's a simple video today. I just want to talk really about the implications on the Football League during this coronavirus pandemic. Me and James have spoken as much as possible from a Premier League and from a Liverpool perspective, but I thought it would be interesting for a lot of people to hear the thoughts of a Football League supporter. Liam, we got the news yesterday that obviously the Premier League are going to pay the EFL £125 million. Obviously, after speaking to you and after looking into it more, it's not actually how the articles have made it out to be, is it?
No, I mean they've turned around and said it's a handout, but it's more of an advancement of a payment which is later due. It's going to be made up of payments of parachute payments and settlement fees and what's the other one called? Solidarity payments, which are due to clubs who don't receive parachute payments, which just even it all out in terms of the Championship, League One and League Two.
But I banged on a lot, Liam, that obviously the Football League's been a mess this season. I mentioned before you're a Doncaster fan, and obviously Doncaster play in League One, who have been heavily affected by everything this season. Obviously, Bury dropping out the Football League, Bolton have been deducted points. It's not been a good season for League One. I know you're obviously one who wants the league season voided. But do you feel as though that may affect League One massively, especially with what's happened this season already?
It would kill League One. I mean, EFL clubs are totally different to the Premier League. Premier League can rely on their broadcasting deals, their commercial deals, and they can get by. I think literally there is the potential that they could give away every single ticket away for free in their stadiums and they'd get by. In the EFL, that simply cannot happen. The match day income is what keeps the club running. You can follow Andy Holt on Twitter, who's the owner of Accrington. He'll bang on about it all the time, that what they make on the match day is so important in terms of their survival. So simply voiding the season could kill many, many clubs.
Um, do you know what Doncaster are doing during this? I know a lot of EFL clubs have quite rightly furloughed players
Yeah,
and staff.
Donny
Uh,
have joined them, yeah.
Donny have done that as well. What do you make of that? Do you think it's absolutely the right thing to do? Obviously, as a Liverpool supporter, we've had the disappointing news today that obviously Liverpool have furloughed their staff, and although they're agreeing to pay the 20% to make up for their wages and make sure that they get paid the full amount, I still think it's an absolutely ridiculous call. And this furlough scheme was brought in more for clubs and small businesses that don't make that much of don't make that much money. And whereas for clubs like Liverpool, Tottenham, Newcastle, who have put their staff into it, I think is a joke. But what do you make of it from a League One point of view?
I mean, they're well within their right. I wouldn't directly blame football clubs themselves. They're a business. It's what they have to do to survive. It gives them more money. It's more of the government around it, whether it's the FA, the UEFA, or just the general British government that are at fault for this. But clubs like Liverpool, Tottenham, who owners are earning billions and are worth billions, it's a bit unfair in terms of like your clubs like Bury, who've failed to make a stance in the league this year, Bolton, who are struggling. You know, it's hard, but I can't exactly blame clubs for using a privilege they've been given.
Yeah, both Liverpool and Tottenham, of course, Champions League finalists last season and had record revenues this year. So, I am frustrated with Liverpool and Tottenham and any big club that's done this. Like you say, they're well within their right to do it. But as far as I'm concerned, the furlough scheme shouldn't be there for massive with massive businesses, just as much as Sports Direct shouldn't be for key workers. But that's a different point. Obviously, the only way I see the Premier League season being finished, Liam, is if the rest of the season's played behind closed doors. You've mentioned there with the EFL how actually the EFL relies on ticket sales and how that is very, very hard. We speak about TV revenues a lot and that being the driving force of why they're so desperate to finish this season.
Yeah,
What is your best idea in how to finish the Football League season in terms of helping Football League clubs as well?
there is no best idea. I don't think we can all say, "Oh, this way's better, this way's better." We simply don't know. We don't know what this pandemic's going to cause. We don't know when it's going to end. We can say, "Oh, we'll have the season finished by June 30th." Is that too soon? Is that too late? We don't know. You've got players' contracts and everything as well, so I don't think there is necessarily a correct answer.
I know there's discussions to extend contracts, but I know there was talk between us two when it first happened with obviously loan deals. Like a lot of EFL clubs revolve around loan deals, and when loan deals will obviously be out, then what happens then? Do they get extended till the end of the season? Then what happens next season? The club's not allowed to loan players. I know Doncaster, for example, how many loan players do you have?
6 or 7.
So will your club be able to, if obviously they shorten next season to obviously um, be able to get around this one and be able to finish this one. Will the club be affected by that? Do you have enough players to fill the squad without having to loan players?
I mean, we'd struggle. I think most teams within the EFL would struggle, but it's an awkward situation to be in, isn't it? I don't think anyone could have called this at the start of the season. No one can call it now in terms of what's going to happen. So it's a hard one.
And what do you make of obviously the National League and below's decision to void their season? I know obviously there's quite a few clubs angry. Some clubs are already up. Some clubs like Hashtag United are trying to, plead with the FA to sort something out because this is a lot of people's lives and livelihoods, Liam. They've spent a lot of money and time on this season, and for the FA then to avoid it, do you think it's a bit of a joke, or do you
I mean,
think
I can only,
decision?
I have a good knowledge of the EFL, and voiding the season for the EFL would be terrible. I could not imagine what it would do for the National League and below, because that is literally it. The EFL get money from sponsorships and whatnot. Down in non-league, it's solely reliant on the match day income, and simply voiding the season with 10 games left, I think it's atrocious. I think they've made a rash call.
I think the thing is when you look at the Premier League and other leagues, I mean, a lot of people have said, haven't they, that it makes sense to void the season because you have health and safety, which is the ultimate thing in this. The players' health is the most important thing, just like the fans' health is, and everyone involved in football clubs. But I think it's difficult because in Premier League there is obviously so much money, and there'll be so many lawsuits if the season is voided. You go down and down and down the leagues, and that becomes less and less. And I think the FA probably saw this as an easy decision to make to avoid the season, but as you say, I think it will cause catastrophic effects, and this may create the beginning of the end. This may cause the beginning of the
Yeah.
end in terms of grassroots football. And I'm involved in grassroots football a lot. I do refereeing, and for a while I think there's been a lot of problems with grassroots football, but I think obviously this decision has shown a real problem, and I think the professional game is leaving it behind massively. I think VAR was another step where it showed that the professional game's leaving grassroots football behind. But I think after this, the FA, the Premier League, the EFL need to sit down together and really look at football and what it's becoming, and how to change it again in the right direction. Because I've said many times before, this pandemic is going to change the world, and it needs to change for the better as well.
Just to make a point on, you're a Liverpool fan, Liverpool-based channel, or I assume most of the audience watching will be Liverpool fans as well. You're adamant about finishing the season because you want to win a title. Look down a division at Leeds.
Yeah,
How long have they been wanting to get back to the Prem? But it's not even that. The amount of money they'd lose or potentially lose if they were as restricted of getting promoted. We're talking hundreds of millions.
from my perspective, the Premier League is the easiest decision to void.
Yeah.
From my perspective, if you forget money, if every league earned the same amount of money, the Premier League is the easiest. We were 25 points clear.
I mean, look at Genk have won the Belgian league, haven't they?
Club Brugge, yeah.
Club Brugge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's difficult there because obviously we've looked at the Belgian league before. It's messed up, and they only
yeah.
have
In
to play
terms
in
of the playoffs and
the
yeah,
season. So that was a more simple decision to make. But I think it definitely puts the Premier League under more pressure to make a decision sooner rather than later. And the same with the EFL. It's going to be very interesting to follow this, Liam, and see what happens with the EFL. But I think Bury are going to be the first of many clubs to be struggling in the next 5 or 10 years.
I mean, this is not got nothing to do with the current pandemic at all. It's been happening for a while. I mean,
Mm.
even before all this, you'd Merry gone, Macclesfield struggling, Bolton struggling, Coventry City don't own their stadium. I mean,
Black.
Blackpool, the list can go on. And a point I want to bring up is the parachute payments that Premier League teams get after they've been relegated. Sunderland this season received 15 million, and they're playing in the same. Before a ball was kicked, they got 15 million from the Premier League from the parachute payments from when they got relegated. That was before a ball was kicked. They play in the same exact league as Bury, who have gone, Bolton, who are going, Coventry don't own a stadium. I mean, is that fair? Where's the management from the above?
Mm. Yeah, it's incredibly difficult. I assume it's to save clubs like Sunderland when they go down from absolutely,
Everything to nothing, yeah.
like you saw with Portsmouth a few seasons ago, where they went down and down and down, and they ended up an absolute state. And I think it's trying to avoid situations like that. You only have to look at the stadium and light and the capacity of that stadium. Sunderland now, they're nowhere near filling that stadium, and the rent on that is probably massive within itself. But as you say, it isn't fair. That's not the fault of any club like Bury or Bolton, who are struggling themselves. Bolton, though, are probably a club that also receive parachute payments from the Premier League, having
True.
been in the Premier League. But again, I'm sure it's not the fault of Bury or any club of that, and it is incredibly tough on them, just like this whole situation will be. And it is going to be very, very difficult to see what happens. We saw Jose Mourinho come out after a couple of weeks ago and say that obviously people looking at the transfer window right now and saying transfer windows is a joke, because it's very wrong to think of transfers right now because they probably won't happen, and it's definitely hard to look at the EFL and think any transfers will happen in the short term there, isn't it?
I mean, there's one hope. Well, there's one thing I'm hoping for is that they get rid of this Johnston's Paint Trophy or whatever they changed it to now. This farce of a trophy.
That's the thing as well. I think either way, it's going to affect the EFL, especially for the next 2 years, because you look, if they shorten the Premier League season next year, the first things they'll get rid of is the cup competition or
Yeah,
FA Cup replays, where the would benefit from. And
yeah.
the first thing is to leave the EFL further behind. And this is why I think it's so important. People talk about UEFA and FA and different footballing alliances working together, but it needs to be the same with the Premier League and the EFL. I know the Premier League is a massive, massive business, but it can't afford to leave the EFL even further behind.
I mean, it's already left us behind, so.
True. Cheers for joining us, Liam. Let us know in the comments what you think. Do you think that this is obviously going to massively affect the EFL? Do you think that the Premier League has left the EFL too far behind already, or do you think the Premier League should be doing everything it can to salvage that relationship between the leagues in England? Cheers for joining us, Liam, and we will see you again tomorrow. Ta-ra.